for the good of the nation on behalf of us, because, of course, that's what we vote for them for. But if you're not an academic getting one of these grants and you work in the education sector and you're wondering, oh, what can I do to improve my lot in life? Go and become a school teacher, because it turns out, particularly in the private sector, but also in some of the state schools around the country as well, teachers are getting some excellent perks, including Indigenous cultural leave, whatever the hell that is. Defence services leave, you can maybe excuse. It's saying, you can get some leave if you're going to go off and serve your nation. Preemptive health check leave, which I'll come back to in a moment, and yoga membership allowances. So if you have a deal that is covered by the Presbyterian and Methodist Schools Association agreement in Queensland, for instance, you get 5 paid days of Indigenous cultural leave, whatever the hell that is, and you can have 5 unpaid days as well. You can also have 5 days of paid reproductive leave. I guess if you're a bloke, you can go and have a vasectomy. I suppose women are claiming it when they're on their period. Townsville Grammar, 2 days also of paid Indigenous cultural leave, and you can have another 8 days unpaid if you want. Again, what is Indigenous cultural leave, and why is this being given to teachers? St Margaret's Berwick Grammar in Melbourne, Berwick, of course, 3 days of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ceremonial leave. Again, do you have to be an Indigenous person to get that, or can any person just say, well, I need to go to an Indigenous ceremony, I need 3 days off, please? Coolum Beach Christian College, again in Queensland, they get a day of paid health check leave. Now, look, I thought that we all got 10 days of sick leave, which meant you could go to the doctor. And that means you can go to the doctor when you're sick, or you can go to the doctor before you're sick because you've got a doctor's appointment. I'm not sure why they need another day on top. St Hilda's School, $250 annual wellness allowance, which you can spend on such things as gym memberships or yoga, or, and I think this is the best one, state schools in South Australia get 15 days of paid cultural and community service leave. Now, maybe you can justify the community service bit, but what is 15 days of cultural leave? 15 days, that's 3 weeks. So on top of your annual leave and the school holidays, I understand teachers do some work in school holidays as well, but annual leave, school holidays, sick leave, 15 days of cultural leave, or your Aboriginal leave, or whatever the hell it is, these teachers are on a great deal, it would seem.
But when it comes to the private schools, I've got to admit, I don't have much of a problem with this. I agree, some of them seem a bit quirky, but doesn't this just represent the highly competitive nature of teaching, especially in rural areas? Private schools are trying to get a physics teacher or a maths teacher. If they're Christian schools, then typically they're looking for a Christian physics teacher. It's a very small pool of people they're looking at, and so they'll use anything they can to try to attract the best. It's private enterprise. Good luck to them.
I don't really see anything wrong with this. I mean, you can argue, well, what is cultural Indigenous leave? And that's a very valid conversation to have. But at the end of the day, these are schools striking these agreements, and it does show how difficult it is to find good teachers. And I think what was also interesting about this article is the starting salary for teachers is now really, really good. So it's around between $87,000 and up to $100,000. It's going to hit in a couple of years. And so I think for a lot of young people out there, teaching is not sold as something that is actually a sustainable career. People don't think teachers are very well paid. They have terrible conditions. We always hear in the media about how difficult, how horrible it is to be a teacher. And yes, teachers do excellent work and it can be tough, but every job has its tough moments, and the reality is they are well remunerated, and I think they should be. They do incredible work.
If anyone should have a problem with this, it should be parents who are paying fees in private schools.
Exactly. I mean,
because clearly they're the ones picking up the tab.
Correct.
So then you've got the balance of, well, am I happy with the school and the teachers?
Because if the teacher's going off on their 10 days of Indigenous leave, it means they've got to get another teacher to come in and do the work when your child otherwise would have had their regular teacher. But also the other thing I think as well is, yes, it's all good and well for people to privately strike these agreements that they can have all different weird fangled types of leave. But that then creeps into the public sector, as it has in South Australia, where they have 15 days of cultural or community leave. And that starts in the schools, but then soon enough, when it comes to negotiating an award as a council worker or in retail or whatever, all of a sudden, everyone will be saying, well, I need my 10 days of Indigenous and cultural leave. And then it will become standard across the entire workforce. So, I mean, what, we could just have half the year off if that's the road we go.
Well, you remember in Queensland, public service got 5 days off to mourn the referendum
That's
result.
right.
So, I mean, you're not wrong. These things spread right throughout the public sector, and that's the difference. If it's a private school, then parents are electing to pay that. Fair enough. But if it's in the public sector, then all taxpayers are footing the bill for things that most of us would deem pretty frivolous.
Yeah, and the reality is schools are having to go to greater and greater lengths to attract good teachers. My brother is training to be a primary school teacher, and the program he's doing is sponsored by a bunch of private schools in Sydney, and they're actually paying for their master's degrees. They work in the classrooms as they're studying, and it's this whole way to attract good Christian teachers. But clearly the universities aren't doing the job, and schools are going to extreme lengths to find good teachers. So it's really tough out there.